Well, Halloween's coming up next week, Monday already, and while it's a time for treats, you also have to watch out for tricks. Sergeant Chris Kim of Crimestoppers here to talk to us about Halloween safety. And we did hear, from the mayor earlier and police as well. But if we want to expand on that, what kind of advice do you have for parents, and especially with, the dangers of fentanyl and those colored pills these days?
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about fentanyl nowadays because they're coming out. I mean, they look like almost like the old school Fred Flintstone vitamins. Yeah. They're multicolored. They look enticing. So we just want parents just to be aware, just make sure that they check their kids' candies. But backtracking a little bit, with the Halloween, as far as your kids' costumes, we know that some kids, they like to carry guns, knives, or swords. So just be mindful, that make sure that they really do look like toys. And, nowadays they look so realistic. So we're concerned for their safety. So if they're able to do without those weapons, consider that. Do once for the costumes, make sure they're not going to trip or fall. Go with your kids. Go with your kids. Make sure that they don't go to unfamiliar neighborhoods. Try and escort them. Make sure they're with flashlights, with cell phone in case of emergency. Stay on the sidewalks. These kids are so excited. They're running around, but make sure that they stay on the sidewalks and don't spill onto the roadway. Yeah,
some good advice. And you're a father of 2 girls. Yes. So as far as, going back to fentanyl, how do they know what's candy versus fentanyl? What should they look out for?
Actually, we're telling people is that if it looks suspicious, if it looks like something you've never seen before, don't even touch it. Don't smell it, don't touch it. Things like this are very dangerous. We've heard of cases on the mainland where just a small drop and people are literally getting sick. So once again, if it's not a familiar looking candy, if something that you've never seen before, if it's packaged kind of strangely, just toss it.
Yeah, good advice. And what about even some tips for the drivers?
Be on the lookout. Just be well aware that, there are kids running around, but also if you're going to be attending social gatherings or parties, don't drink and drive. Consider a rideshare program, designated driver, but once again, don't drink and drive. We highly discourage people from doing that.
And then as far as, some of the advice you give to trick-or-treaters, you were mentioning about, stay on the sidewalk and all that. Any other advice that you have for them when they go up to the doors, or maybe even sometimes, what's popular these days is going to the malls?
Yeah, so malls are fairly safe. As far as going to homes, make sure it's a neighborhood that you're familiar with. Don't venture out into neighborhoods that you're not familiar with. If it's dark, if the house isn't lit, refrain from going to those types of places.
Okay, some great advice. And what are you going to be for Halloween?
Police officer.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Sergeant Chris Kim from Crimestoppers. Over to you, Lay.